This is the updated P7, which brings 175 kilowatt charging speeds, good range, and a lot of different alternatives. So you have the long range, you have the all-wheel drive, and then you have the special wing edition, which gives the cool Lamborghini opening doors. And the rear-wheel drive long range starts at 600,000 kroner, the all-wheel drive performance 700,000 kroner, and the wing edition 800,000 Swedish kroner. And this is the all-wheel drive performance version, which brings you two engines, one in the back, one in the front. In total they have 473 horsepower and 757 newton meters of torque. It does 0 to 100 km an hour in 4.1 seconds. Brembo brakes, pretty cool to see on a car like this. And here as well you can see, very similar to the G9, the X shape here. I think personally the front is the best looking here, or looks the best. The rear looks, yeah, it's very interesting, very different, but especially these lower lights, I'm not too fond of it. Let's check out the rear storage space. 440 liters. The battery is 82.7 kilowatt hour, and with a charging speed of 175 kilowatt, it will take about 30 minutes to go from 10 to 80%. The battery is also different compared to the G9. It's also quite deep and also quite wide. Not the biggest loading area, so it'll be difficult to get in a few golf clubs or if you're starting to move, but I think it does the trick. In the long range you get 576 kilometers, in the all-wheel drive performance you get 505, and in the wing edition you also get 505 kilometers. The seats are quite thick, but the inclination of the bench is okay. I'm sitting fairly lean back. Good amount of foot space. The knee space is what I'm complaining about the most here. But you can see dyno audio in this car as well. Metal finishes. Napa leather that comes with the sound technology package. Looks really, really good. And this car comes also with the panoramic sunroof, comes as standard. Exactly the same steering wheel with the same controls as in the G9. But there is a bit of a difference here. Only one screen instead of two. Digital gauge cluster, of course. And the dyno audio sound system with the popping up speakers up here. No vents up here, down here. Which means that when it's very moist in the air and there are more people, the cabin will fog up quite quickly. You can open up here, a lot of storage underneath here as well. Wireless charging, easily located. Cup holders, which where you press here will go up and then you just push them down. Very easy to use. Infotainment system, if you go home, it shows where you have been in the infotainment system the latest. So I've been navigating, I've been looking through my tracks and so on. Here is where I can control, you know, the driving mode. So I have standard Eco Sport and one pedal, the lights, the X Pilot, the active cruise control with lane assist, voice assistant. Hey Xpeng.
Hello.
Lower my window. And depending on where you're sitting, so if I'm in the passenger seat and I will say the same, that window will go down. Some sub-menus and the location of it all is not the most logical, but in terms of how advanced it is, how usable it is, I think it's up there with anything else on the market. Unfortunately, the car won't come with Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. The only thing that I don't really like is If I'm home, to be able to increase the temperature, of course I can say it via the voice command. But if I don't want to do that, I only have this little area to press. I can go up, I can go down, but when you're driving, pressing this little button and this little area, I think is too small. There's no real creaks, no real rattles. It feels well built, that's for sure. I looked through the exterior, I've sat in it, checked the space. Now it's time to start driving the car. We're in standard, and let's try to see how this behaves on a twisty Swedish B road. This car does not have air suspension, so regular springs and dampers. It's not too stiff, not too soft. The brakes, much easier to dose, to feel the limit. Handles undulations very well. Not the most settled down driving experience, but a superb balance. Let's switch over to sport. But it changes direction very well. But the four-wheel drive system is just there, helps you to pull you out of the corners. I can't deny that it's a quick car, and I must say that Xpeng has really nailed down the suspension. It doesn't feel like an ordinary electric car that's stiff and very jumpy. This feels much more stable and settled down. The weather that I have right now will probably happen when you daily drive a car. So of course it's great that I can be able to test it in this type of weather. And as I noticed before, in auto for the air condition, it gets foggy very quickly in here. While I understand that SUVs are the craze right now, this is a superb car. It delivers on all aspects. While the price may be a bit high compared to, for example, the Tesla Model 3, this is closer in size to a Tesla Model S. The first thing that I noticed when I sat in the car and drove away was how easy everything was. Steering a bit on the heavier side, a bit on the sportier side. Suspension absorbs the bumps, doesn't feel that, you know, EV harsh that electric cars often are. Digital gauge cluster that gives me all the necessary information. Feels well built, decent range and decent charging speeds. What is there to really complain about? Well, if you want to break into new markets and compete with already established brands, the first thing that you do is be cheaper. And if you can't be cheaper, you need to offer better tech. And if you can't offer better tech, you need to offer a great soft experience. The sound system, the infotainment, the gadgets, the cool tech. And the thing with the Xpeng P7, I think, is that it delivers on basically all aspects. While it doesn't have the absolute fastest charging speed of 175 kilowatts, it is up there with basically anything. Take it for what it is, and I think you'll be pretty happy. And that's my final conclusion of the Xpeng P7. See you next time.